Hello, and welcome to Proteges, where we address real life topics from a godly perspective. I am your host, Travis Johnson. Today, I will be addressing the decline of marriage in America. But before I do that, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. You don't want to miss out on more content going forward. Let's get started. On the last show, I spoke about the breakdown of the black family structure in America. Now I want to talk about the decline of marriage in America as it relates to all ethnic groups. It isn't at all shocking that marriage has taken a hit in the black community, but it has also taken a hit in regard to all other ethnicities. And I can see why people don't value marriage the way it was once esteemed. Companionship used to be strongly desired. Now it isn't companionship or marriage. Now people only desire sex. Let's define marriage. Marriage is a legally recognized union between a man and a woman before God. I needed to make sure that I defined a factual and accurate definition of marriage because the world has totally redefined the institution of marriage that God has established for both companionship and procreation. I won't focus on same-sex attraction, although it is an abominable and dishonorable act before God. Rather, I will focus on the fact that marriage is not an important factor any longer because people can avoid it for leisure sex. When I was attending college at WWII University in St. Charles, Missouri, a suburb in St. Louis, every weekend, so many students were at the clubs, getting drunk, sleeping around repeatedly. I mean, every year during spring break, people would drive almost 24 hours from St. Louis to the South Padre Islands in Texas to live the beach life, party, get drunk, and have sex. The college life was full of debauchery and sexual pleasure. I mean, why get married if they can have sex whenever? Sex is basically treated like a social event. Marriage just isn't a respectable or glorious union anymore. Marriage has been basically destroyed in this country. What caused the reduction of marriage in America? Perhaps taking a look back into time would help in discovering the attack on marriage. Let's consider World War II. World War II was a time that women began to work outside the home. And at that time, rightfully so, men were away fighting for the country, and there was only one way for women to provide some income for their families. They began to work at manufacturing jobs because the need for war materials had increased. Women seemingly proved that they were able and capable of doing what men could do. But once the war ended, federal and civilian policies had women workers replaced with men. Then World War II ended, and the 1960s came, where more women began to gain employment outside of the home more than ever before in history. Now, there was no need for women to enter the labor force. Why? Because the international expansion of American economy, which allowed for a large number of middle-class families to live on one income. The problem that many Americans began to have, however, was their income did not match their dreams. Post-World War II, families wanted extra income, and that compelled husbands to have their wives acquire a job to gain more finances to support their dreams and give them their desired lifestyles. This mindset has had a serious effect on America, the family, and marriage today. We can call it the American dream. Now, I am not saying it is wrong to want some nice things or make extra money. I am simply arguing that one way marriage is depleting in large numbers in America is the chasing of the American dream and women feeling the need to work outside the home and build their own careers. I am saying it is difficult to have a successful marriage, raising children if both parents are working full-time jobs or with the mother working even a part-time job outside the home. I want to be sensitive, however, to those who are in need of more income today. It is important for me to exercise sensitivity. There are those who don't make enough money and times do present a situational dilemma where both parents might have to work outside the home. But this has to be for a season. We must contend with this fact. The moment women begin to chase careers, marriage would take a subtle hit. And indeed it did. I remember the movie I watched. It was called Mona Lisa Smile. This movie came out in December of 2003. It starred a cast of women actresses like Julia Roberts, Kirsten Dunst, Julia Stiles, and Maggie Gyllenhaal, to name a few. This movie details the life of 30-year-old Catherine Ann Watson in 1953. Catherine was a graduate student of UCLA and also earned her master's degree in history of art. She also became the history of art teacher at Wellesley College. Upon employment as a college professor at Wellesley College, Catherine meets one of her students, Elizabeth Betty Warren, who is a very outspoken conservative. Elizabeth could not understand why Catherine, at age 30, was not yet married. As Catherine got to know her female students and their desire for marriage and to become housewives, she wanted to inspire and impress upon them to achieve a life that is more than marriage. Elizabeth was deeply offended by this and wrote an editorial for the Wellesley College paper calling out Catherine for advocating that women should seek a career instead of being wives and mothers. Check out this 3-minute clip of Catherine Watson addressing her students about why she argues for a career rather than the desire to be a wife and mother and staying busy at home.
Slide. Contemporary art.
No, that's just an advertisement.
Quiet. Today you just listen. What will the future scholars see when they study us? A portrait of women today? There you are, ladies. The perfect likeness of a Wellesley graduate, magna cum laude, doing exactly what she was trained to do. Slide. A Rhodes Scholar. I wonder if she recites Chaucer while she presses her husband's shirts. Slide. Now you physics majors can calculate the mass and volume of every meatloaf you make. Slide. A girdle to set you free. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? I give up. You win. The smartest women in the country. I didn't realize that by demanding excellence, I would be challenging. What did it say? What did it say? The roles you were born to fill. Is that right? The roles you were born to fill? It's my mistake. Class dismissed.
Because of the written editorial, Catherine was sternly reprimanded. However, Catherine was allowed to continue teaching as long as she agreed to stick to the syllabus, submit lesson plans, stop giving private advice to students, and keep a strictly professional relationship with faculty and students. Catherine eventually decides to leave and go explore Europe. The movie ends with Elizabeth writing her last editorial about Catherine, explaining that Catherine was an extraordinary woman who lived an exemplary life and compelled them all to see the world through new eyes. Catherine departs in a taxi as her students follow behind the car on their bicycles, with Elizabeth reaching out, saying goodbye. Now, can you see what was beginning to happen at this time? The movie is telling you that the agenda of college professors, even in the 1950s, they wanted to bring about an end to marriage and the idea of women being busy in the home. But how can the women who are busy at home be alleviated of their responsibilities? By minimizing marriage. And it was started by getting women to focus on their careers. Now, we can not only blame the destruction of marriage on women working outside the home, men are to blame as well. Men have made things just as horrible for marriage, I'd say worse. Men don't want to be men, meaning men don't want to work hard or take on their God-given responsibilities, better stated, roles. Men would much rather have the women lead than them taking on or assuming the role of manhood. As I said before, concerning post-World War II, men convinced their wives that making more money by working outside the home was a good idea for them to achieve the American dream and enhance their lifestyles. Women were not only encouraged to give up their primary responsibilities, but be subject to the other men at work that were not their husbands, such as their bosses. Again, it is important that I state that I am not saying that women cannot work outside the home, but when the American dream or better lifestyle becomes the focus and desire, husbands feed their wives a lie and their children lose out on the primary voice and nurturing that they were given in parenting by God. So, because of chasing the American dream or a better lifestyle, women became subject to another man, and the demands of work and success took the place of mothers raising their children and serving their husbands. Husbands could no longer protect their wives holistically, and children were all the more placed in public schools. Hence, the beginning of the decline of marriage in America. We can see the effects of women chasing careers and men rejecting their call given by God today. Men today expect two incomes because they want a certain lifestyle. Women want independence and are fighting for equal pay. As a result of this mindset, marriage is an almost absent thought. As people are getting married at a much older age, the average age of people getting married in 2023 is 28 to 30 years of age. And a lot of times, they are just not getting married. In America, we have gone from marriage to common law marriage to partners. All I hear today is my partner this, my partner that. The word partner can mean so many things. It can mean two women, two men, or whatever someone wants it to mean. Marriage, no matter the ethnic group, has suffered a drastic decline. Commitment is another problem with American men and women today. People truly have a problem with commitment. The average person has been in so many relationships and has had sex with multiple people, both men and women alike. So many are playing house, pretending to be married without commitment. I have spoken to several people in the last week, and all I keep hearing from them, mostly women, is that my boyfriend lives with me. It's like it's no big deal. Women are more willing to give the most intimate or sacred part of themselves without a man legally vowing to dwell with her until death do they part. Obviously, the men are more willing than the women. This is true no matter the ethnic belonging. Let's check out some marriage statistics by ethnicity in 2020. African Americans were the least married of any ethnic group in America, according to the Census Bureau survey. 30% of African Americans are married compared to 43% of Hispanics, 52% of whites, and 58% of Asians. Also, 50% of African Americans have never been married compared to 28% of whites. Both black and white Americans have similar divorce statistics, with 12% of each population currently divorced, which is higher than Hispanics of 9% and Asians of 5%. Both black and Hispanics have the highest percent of separation at 3% compared to the 1% of whites and Asians. In 2022, the numbers show staggering evidences. In 2022, about 132.3 million, or 49.3% of Americans ages 15 and over were unmarried, according to the current population survey that was in the census report. If these are the numbers in 2022, what will the numbers be in 2023? I want to play this clip of what the attitudes are like toward marriage today. The man's name in this clip is Patrick Bet David. He is a multimillionaire. He was asked what made him settle down and get married. His answer was insane, but so many have this mindset. He certainly was not thinking right, but more importantly, biblically. Now, this was not the whole interview, but it was pretty telling of how singles are thinking today. Watch this.
What made you decide to get married?
The risk is very high, by the way, to get married. You know, for me, when I was 28, I had made a decision I'm never going to get married. I said,
wow.
I'm staying single. And my assistant, very good friend of mine at that time, Sandra, Patty, said, why don't you go read this book, 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged by Norman Wright. So I read the book. When I read the book, I'm like, interesting. I was talking to 4 girls at the time. I said, why don't you guys read this book as well and see how you feel about it? So they did. I'm like, I could never be with you. You and I would never work out, would never work out. But I asked the one question, why get married? There's way too much risk to it. So then I sat there and said, well, you have somebody to come home to every night. You can still have somebody to come home to if you're single. Yeah. Matter of fact, you can have options. Yeah. If you know what I mean? When you have the money, you can do whatever you want to do with that. Yeah. But tax benefits, I don't care about that. I can move to another state and get better tax benefits. It's somebody that you're, it's somebody that can help you. It's somebody that can do this. Not there yet. And then it goes to, okay, look, you can make all the money in the world. Then what? Like, what leaves you? A book? Yeah, they say the Jewish proverb says there's 3 things every man should do. Write a book, plant a tree, have a son. Why? Because they all outlive you. We as men want to live thousands of years. The only way you're going to live thousands of years is by the value you bring to the world that's documented, is by giving back to, and I know the tree is what they're saying with tree, not even tree today, because a tree is being cut down and turned into paper. It's a business model now, right? But it's family, it's blood. And when you see your kid and you find somebody to build a family with that's a good partner, meshes with you, good personality, you sit there and say, okay, great, this looks good. We can actually pull this off. Then there's value for it. But I'm going to tell you something here right now. Basic rules about getting married today. If I'm a man, I'm not getting married before 30 at all. I would not even think about getting married pre-30. A lot of people argue with me. You don't know what you're talking about. I got married at 22 years old and I'm happily married. I'm 62. 22, 62, that was 40 years ago. That means the 80s.
Yeah.
You didn't have social media. You didn't have Snapchat. You didn't have Tinder. You don't have accessibility to what's out there today. Accessibility to sex today is so easy. The ability to be tempted today and screw up is so easy. The ability to screw up and make a royally, publicly humiliating mistake today is very high. And ain't no man walk on water. Okay? And no man walks on water. Everybody sees and says, oh my gosh, oh, she's beautiful, but I'm married. There's nobody that's perfect to say, oh, I don't have to worry about the mistakes I'm going to make. The risk is high today. The reward is not as high as it used to be because at least back in the days, say you and your wife got into a fight 20 years ago. You got a 30-minute drive, okay? And at the office, you talk to her. Why don't I come home and talk to you tonight? You got 30 minutes to calm down by the time you come home. Today, if you get into a fight, instantly, that second, what you want to say, you say. So you offend, scar. It's just like, dude, I'm so done with this marriage. So today we have too much of the opportunity to react instantly. There's too much instant reaction. And hey, you don't know what you're talking about. That fight is too instant. So those are all scars that you're leaving on each other, right? And eventually, after all the scars you get, it's like, I just have no desire to do anything with you in bed anymore. I really don't. I'm good. You're facing this way. She's facing that way. So it has to be built on the right values and principles. It has to be somebody that you date for some time and you see all the dark side of them and yourself to see if you can do this or not. Preferably a referral that's coming through somebody instead of cold. I knew my wife 5.5 years before we got married. She knew my flaws. I knew her flaws. Oh yeah, she dated other guys. I dated other girls. And eventually we said, let's see what could happen here. And we built a family together.
The worldliness of his thinking as it relates to getting married was absolutely godless. His thinking is severely flawed. And there was the idea of waiting until you're 30. He mentioned sex being so easily accessible. He is correct. The problem is he was poking holes in his argument. Waiting to get married and dating for 5 years and dating other people, as he said later on in the interview, only gives more temptation to engage in sexual promiscuity, even with the person you're dating. Our culture is pushing the idea of prolonging marriage as long as you can. No need to get married. You have your whole life to get married. Have fun. Pursue your career. Travel the world, among some excuses for prolonging the most blessed institution that God has given man and woman. You know, marriage has always been under attack from the beginning of time. God established marriage as a blessed gift for mankind. In Genesis 1:28, it speaks of this. After God created the world, he then created man in his image, male and female, he created them. In verse 28, it says, and God blessed them. And God said, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, or the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So God blessed the union of man and woman and marriage, and gave them dominion over all that he created. And then the attack on the blessed union of marriage. Genesis 3 shows the attack on marriage and family with regard to the first man and woman, Adam and Eve. Satan wanted to destroy what the Lord God established as sweet communion between man and woman and get them to disobey God. He accomplished this, but God restored them. And ever since the first marriage was harmed, Satan has been wreaking havoc on the earth and on marriage. Yes, it was against God that Satan ultimately warred. But make no mistake, it was against the union of marriage and to destroy the family. Marriage was to represent something beautiful and godly. Remember, God said that it was good after he spoke creation into existence, but after he shaped and fashioned man in his image and gifted them with marriage, he then said, behold, or look intently, or pay attention. Marriage, man and woman coming together, was very good. What must be said is this: marriage pleases God and is very good in his sight. He made it clear in Genesis 2:18. The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man that he should be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him." So the Lord God made from Adam, out of his rib, a woman, his wife, Eve. This has serious implications for us today. God clearly means business about marriage, and if he does, so should we. So, not only is it very good that man and woman should be married, it is also not good that man should be alone. And God favors marriage. See, in Proverbs 18:22, it says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." So, there is no need to push marriage off as far as one can, and you can still have great and godly intimacy. It just needs to be in the context of marriage. God is pleased with that. So, I charge you, especially Christians who are falling to the worldly system or the culture of our day, get married. Obey the mandate as prescribed in Genesis 1:28. All right, we have come to the end of the show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share the show with as many of your friends and family as you can. And until next time, go and be proteges while in this world. Grace and peace.